The fact that Newsom is picking a fight with Ron DeSantis just goes to show you that libs are living in an alternate universe.
Yes. Maybe it's a 10% chance that the presidential election in 2024 is going to be Florida Governor Ron DeSantis against California Governor Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, Buck, as soon as Joe Biden left for Israel, showed up at the White House, literally rolled up his sleeves, took his jacket off. He may have kicked his feet up on the Resolute desk. He might have been posing for photos. It was so disrespectful of Joe Biden that I couldn't help but respect it. He also, when I was just down in Florida over July 4th, Gavin Newsom, bought television commercials airing on Fox News saying that California was actually a place for freedom and that Floridians were actually unfree because of Ron DeSantis' leadership, which is backwards to most people, Buck.
It's Independence Day, so let's talk about what's going on in America. Freedom, it's under attack in your state. Your Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors. I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight. Or join us in California, where we still believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to choose, freedom from hate, and the freedom to love. Don't let them take your freedom.
The fact that Newsom is picking a fight with Ron DeSantis just goes to show you that libs are living in an alternate universe.
Yes.
Because here's how this would make sense. If California didn't have a massive net loss of people, it's a big deal to move in America, right? I mean, I may be going through this soon. It's a big deal to move your state entirely. You know, I've done it before. People do it. I'm not saying that. But, you know, if you have a family and kids, a job. So a lot of states people wish they didn't have to get stuck in. They are stuck in. When you see the outflow from California, people are voting with their feet, which is even more profound in a lot of ways than voting at the ballot box, right? It's a much bigger decision they're making for themselves. California is the place everyone flees from. Florida is the place everyone flees to. And Gavin Newsom wants to pick a fight. I mean, the ladies of The View, for example, know that Ron DeSantis is a threat because here's the problem. Not only is Ron DeSantis a better governor than Gavin Newsom, Ron DeSantis is doing things at the state level that Joe Biden, as president, was always trashing. And we've seen that he was wrong, too. Do we have, this is what they're saying about the DeSantis situation.
And there are Trump donors who are now giving to DeSantis, meaning they're giving to his, quote, re-election campaign, right, for governor. But they know he's raising much more money than he's actually going to need for the governor's race. And as a result, he's going to have this huge war chest at the end of this re-election campaign. Guess where that's going to go?
You were saying he's got about $200 million.
He's going to have about $200 million probably by the time of the election. He's got 125.
Who are these people giving money to these people?
Well, and by the way, Sonny made a good point for folks who aren't familiar. What a lot of these apps and websites do is you click to give once, and it actually signs you up to recurringly give. It is so unfair. It is a grift.
People are losing their homes. They're losing
What a surprise. There's a grift involved in this. Oh,
A lot of the people who are giving to DeSantis have a lot of money.
I mean, they're so dumb.
He's actually, I forget that illegal guy. He's actually pretty smart. And he just had to throw that at the end. He's like, the people that are giving money, guys, are not the ones that are bankrupt right now.
And look, I just, the amount of stupidity that comes out of New York and L.A. on a regular basis. And I know when you move out of New York City, Buck, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, it's so good to live in the real world. But this is why I'm so thankful that I came out of talking about college football, because I'm used to being in crowds of 100,000 people who are totally freaking normal.
Clay, I'm going to have,
and it's wild to me.
In my first month as a Florida resident, I'm going to have a home-based arsenal that would make Schwarzenegger in the Commando movies cry, okay? That's it's going to be amazing. The freedom that I will feel.
You are leaving New York, and you're not going to be like, oh, my God, I'm in California. I'm in Florida. I have no freedoms here. This is, though, I think it's important to recognize. I talked about this when it's like going through the looking glass into Alice in Wonderland, or if you're a Stranger Things person, it's like going into the Upside Down. this mirrored reality that isn't reflective of the real world is so omnipresent in social media. I talked about this when Senator Josh Hawley had his discussion with the Cal Berkeley law professor, and the woman was refusing to say that she continued to argue that men could get pregnant. And I went on social media, and all the blue checks, Buck, are like, she slayed him. Oh, look, the Ron DeSantis got Josh Hawley got destroyed. And Gavin Newsom is buying directly into this absurd worldview. In fact, I believe we have audio of him. He was asked, hey, what would you say to Ron DeSantis if you were asked about...
Wait, can we
want to play that when we come back?
Let's do that, because we want to continue this one, because I do think that the country, irrespective of the presidential election, politics in America is turning into a California versus Florida throwdown. So we can come back to that in a moment.
I think that's right. We'll play that audio for you if you haven't already heard it.
We promised the Gavin Newsom audio here where he's going after Ron DeSantis.
Ever met Ron DeSantis or talked to him?
No.
What would you say to him?
Stop being a bully. Stop belittling people that look differently, act differently, love differently. Who the hell are you? Stop threatening people. Stop being so coercive. It's not power over. Power, dominance, aggressive, fear-mongering. We lived this with the Briggs Initiative in the 1970s. We've lived this in California with Prop 187. Look what Abbott is doing. Abbott's talking about eliminating a fundamental right for people, regardless of their immigration status, to get an education. We were debating that in the 1990s. Watch that space. Watch that space. That was the Doe decision. They're going to come after that next. This is a real moment for diverse communities. And it's not just, again, DeSantis, it's Abbott, it's Kentucky, it's South Dakota. You go down the list, these red states, there's a ruthlessness.
Can I just say, it'll be fascinating to listen to Gavin Newsom explain to the residents of Florida, including the very substantial Hispanic population of Florida that is, with each passing month, even more supportive of
Texas,
Ron DeSantis,
including Myra Flores, who we're going to talk to next hour.
Just how racist Ron DeSantis is. Really? Look at the actual numbers there, Gavin. Good luck with that.
And it's that whole clip from him is indicative of a total disconnection with the vast majority of the country, because DeSantis and Abbott and Governor Bill Lee and Kevin Stitt from Oklahoma and Brian Kemp from Georgia. I could run through a bunch of different red state governors. But that criticism rings so hollow. In fact, everybody out there driving around right now listening to us in red states is saying, boy, he's not only attacking the governors, he's attacking us. And I hope that Ron DeSantis gets to go against somebody like Gavin Newsom, because I think Gavin Newsom has a fundamental misunderstanding of what the country wants, needs, desires, and reflects and represents. I think he would get destroyed because he's running like the country agrees with California, with no idea of how much everybody hates California in many parts of the country right now. So I don't know exactly how all of this will end up shaking out. Again, I was talking about those are multiverse universe where we end up in DeSantis versus Newsom. But it's clear based on the White House visit and the pressure, the running the ads in Florida, Newsom is trying to step in and become one of the candidates for Democrats at the very high level for 2024.
Let's be honest. If we're just looking at this objectively, even if you're a Democrat, Gavin Newsom is, as much as I don't like a lot of things about Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom is a person who is at least physically and mentally capable of doing the job.
Yes.
Joe Biden is not. So, I mean, you start there. Right? This isn't a crazy idea. And every time Kamala now appears in the news, it's just another version of people going, oh, my God, this woman is the vice president?
I do think Newsom is completely untested in the way that California has become a one-party state, and I think he would get the Mike Tyson line, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. I think Newsom's not used to getting punched in the face, really, and I think he would get wrecked on a national scale. Think about what Gavin Newsom is doing here. He showed up at the White House. I've never seen this happen before. Have you? the day after the president left and walked around the White House in his shirt sleeves, not even wearing a jacket. Who goes to the White House as an elected governor of the biggest state in the country when Joe Biden isn't there? I mean, it feels like he showed up basically to run a one-man coup. It's so disrespectful to pull off to even think of doing it. He could have gone a day earlier.
It's like they got a photo of
Biden.
him wearing a robe and some fuzzy slippers that said POTUS on them in the residence.
He might as well have had a toothbrush in his front lapel.
He's like, I like this place.
It's clear that he's trying to force Joe Biden out. And we know Joe Biden's over in Saudi Arabia. I thought it was strange. I don't know if you did, Buck. Why isn't Joe Biden on the trip with him?
Oh, I think Joe Biden's laying low for a few days, my friend. I think I think she doesn't want to show up in Saudi Arabia and say, "I love your falafels."
But the reason why she was speaking at the Latinx conference is because they made a calculated decision not to send her with Joe to the Middle East, which means who's getting him dressed? Like, who's putting him to bed at night? Who's making the Metamucil? Like, who's actually taking care of Joe Biden on the road when he's in Israel and in Saudi Arabia?
You know, on your point about Gavin Newsom trying to really force the issue a little bit with Joe Biden, I feel, I don't like saying this, but he's right. This is the other thing. Gavin Newsom is right. This is outrageous. This guy shouldn't be for the president for anyone at any time. So in a sense, as gross and grasping as Newsom is here, he's actually doing this would be better for our purpose. It's just more realistic.
Here's a good question for you.
I was almost going to say it's better for the country, but I can't bring myself to say that.
I mean, who is a worse candidate than Joe Biden? You can make the argument that the only person worse than Joe Biden right now for the Democrats would be Kamala Harris. Joe Biden, all of the poor choices he's made. Imagine if he actually had a competent vice president. Democrats would be kicking him to the curb and allowing that competent vice president to run as the incumbent in a heartbeat.